let's get out and welcome to my review of the Sugarland Express. The Sugarland Express is directed by Steven Spielberg. Now, before I get into my review of this film, just say that Steven Spielberg is one of the most influential and incredible and most famous directors of all time. Still going right now, actually. And basically, over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be doing lots of Spielberg film reviews. I'm not going to do all of them, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to do literally all the Spielberg film reviews. I'm just going to do a handful of them. I'm going to do a good lot of them. And basically, I said to myself, I'm going to start with one of his early films, The Sugarland Express. One of his lesser known ones, still quite well known, but one of his lesser known ones. And then I'm going to jump on to some of his more famous ones. For example, Jaws is going to be my next Spielberg film review. Then I'm going to go on to Close Encounters, 1951, then like E.T., then probably Jurassic Park, and then so on and so on and so on. But I'm not going to do all of them, just a good handful of them. But I said to myself, over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to do them because I'm going to take a break soon on this channel in total. So I just wanted to do a couple of Spielberg film reviews over the next couple of weeks, because he's one of my favourite filmmakers of all time. Just is. Even if he makes a bad film, he still makes up with his next film, which would be absolutely fantastic. But anyway, so I said to myself, I'm going to start off with the Sugarland Express, one of his lesser known, but still quite famous films. No, anyway, The Sugarland Express was released in 1974, literally a year before Jaws came out. Jaws came out in 1975, and Jaws is arguably Spielberg's most famous film. It really is. It's a film that, quite a lot of people know Spielberg for Jaws. So, in a way, I think Jaws kind of overshadowed this. Not in a bad way, because I think Jaws is an absolutely fantastic film, and I'm going to talk about that more in my Jaws review. But I think Jaws kind of overshadowed this film, not in a bad way, just I think it did, because, well, Jaws is its own thing, and everybody knows Jaws, everyone's heard of Jaws, and they haven't necessarily heard of the Sugarland Express. But anyway, like I said, the Sugarland Express was released in 1974, and it's directed by world-famous director Steven Spielberg. Oh god, I just love saying that name. Whenever he's directing a film, I'm just like, yes! And anyway, the music for this film is done by world-famous film composer John Williams. John Williams has literally done almost all the scores for all of Spielberg's films. Not all of them, but almost all of them. And, well, you won't actually guess that this film had the music was composed by John Williams for this film. You won't actually guess that. Like, if you listen to some of the Spielberg John Williams scores, past this film, for example, look at the Raiders of the Lost Ark score, which has got the big orchestra and is quite triumphant. The Jurassic Park score, which is quite similar, big orchestra, quite triumphant in some stages, and big and strong and sometimes epic. That's not the same with this film. The score is not your typical John Williams score, and I'm gonna get onto that a bit later. But anyway, the film stars Goldie Hawn, Ben Johnson, and Michael Sachs, and the film is actually based on a true story, which is kind of incredible when you think about it. Just the story in itself is just kind of an incredible story. But anyway, the film is based on a true story, and the true story took place in 1969, so quite a while ago now, almost over 50 years ago now. Wow, yeah, over 50 years ago. Wow. But anyway, the film tells the story of the film centers around Goldie Hawn and Ben Johnson's character. Goldie Hawn was an ex-convict and used to be in prison, and now she's released out. Her husband is still in prison, but he's not long to be released out. He's kind of like, he's almost going to be released out. He's close to being released out, but he hasn't been released out yet. And basically, their child is being adopted by another couple who live in Sugarland, hence the name of the film, The Sugarland Express. Anyway, Goldie Hawn goes to visit her husband, Ben Johnson, in prison one day, and she comes to his plan to go and save their child, to go and get their child back and to raise them themselves. And in doing so, they escape the prison, and then they become fugitives. They become convicts on the run. And as they escape the prison, they go with an old couple. The old couple start to ask some questions, and they're also really, really slow in the car, and so they get pulled over by this police officer. Long story short, and I mean long story short because quite a few scenes happen here, basically this police officer that pulled them over soon becomes hostage in this car. This police officer is played by Michael Sachs in the film. And basically, as the film progresses, about 80 police cars follow these fugitives played by Goldie Hawn and Ben Johnson around in this car across America to Sugarland, because they have this police hostage played by Michael Sachs in the car with them. And if the police do anything, if the police try and kill Goldie Hawn or Ben Johnson's character, they're going to kill the police officer that they're carrying hostage. And don't get me wrong, I know nowadays the police officer was just going to try and kill the fugitives and just hope that the hostage got away. That's what happened nowadays. Bear in mind, this story took place in 1969, and this film actually came out in 1974. Things were different than they are now. So you just kind of you're going to have to accept the story for the fact that this is actually quite an old story. So don't get me wrong, nowadays things are done differently, and it might seem a bit peculiar, like why didn't they just do that? You got to consider that this story took place over 50 years ago now. But anyway, as the film progresses, we see this relationship between the hostage and the two fugitives start to grow. The hostage actually becomes friends with the two fugitives, and the hostage actually develops a friendship with Ben Johnson's character and starts to feel a bit of sympathy for Goldie Hawn's character. And it's quite interesting to watch that. And it's one of those films where it actually makes you side with the convicts, the bad guys, instead of the good guys, the policemen who are following the fugitives and trying to get the hostage away. It's actually one of those films where it makes you side with the bad guys and not the good guys. Like, the police are always meant to be the good guys in the film, and they're always meant to do the right thing, but in this case, we're actually sided with the convicts. But I just kind of like that whole idea, they're actually sided with the bad guys, but in a way, there's still something strong and good about them. But at the same time, the policemen are not necessarily being the bad people, but at the same time, they're not being the good people. But anyway, the film all comes down to when the fugitives and the hostage enters Sugarland, and everything goes down there. And I'm not going to give anything away, but the end of the film was totally unexpected. But the whole film is guessing how is it going to end, and the ending is such a complete and unexpected way. I didn't know how it was going to end. I didn't know the actual story myself, and then just watching the final act of the film take place, it was kind of like, wow, this was not the ending I expected at all. And anyway, one of the things I just want to quickly talk off the bat about is the music of this film. I'm only going to do a quick talk about the music of the film, but basically, the music of the film is done by one of my all-time favourite music artists, John Williams, music composer John Williams. I absolutely love a John Williams score. You know, it's one of the most famous scores, some of the most famous scores of all time. You know, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, you know, Jurassic Park, and I could talk for hours and hours and hours about all these other scores, famous scores that he's done. But literally, he did the score for this film, and you wouldn't tell. Like, don't get me wrong, I knew because I'm a huge John Williams fan. But you wouldn't be able to tell off the bat if you just didn't know who did the music of this film, because it's so unlike any like sort of music John Williams has ever done, you know, elsewhere. Don't get me wrong, I love his other themes to bits, I do, but his score for this film is so unique and so different and so distinctive, and I was like, this is John Williams. I really like the score for this film. Like, I really do. But anyway, I'm just going to quickly talk about one of the flaws of the film. This film doesn't really have a solid antagonist. All really good films have a solid antagonist. Maybe one that you sympathise with, or maybe one that you absolutely hate. But every good film has a solid antagonist. And this film doesn't really, if I'm being honest. Don't get me wrong, you have this older police officer, this sergeant at one stage, which you kind of follow in some of the scenes, and he's kind of the antagonist, but at the same time, he still feels some sympathy for the fugitives. He really does, because in the end, the fugitives are just trying to get their child back, when you really think about it. All they're trying to do is raise their own family, and no, at the same time, these are fugitives, these are people who've done bad stuff in the past. But one of the things that keeps being emphasised throughout the whole of the film is that Ben Johnson's character hasn't actually shot anyone in his life, and he never wants to, he never will. He keeps saying, I've never shot anyone and I never will. Stuff like, he keeps saying that for the whole of the film. And so you start to wonder why, you know, on first view, you start to think that, you know, Ben Johnson's and Goldie Hawn's character, you know, they're nutters. But actually, they're not, as you start to reveal. You know, they've just done some bad stuff in the past, and they're trying to change, they're trying to just start a family. And even the sergeant, who's supposedly the antagonist of this film, you know, he has a bit of sympathy for these characters. At the same time, you know, I suppose he's the antagonist, but in quite a few scenes, he doesn't always come across as that. The film just suffers from a lack of an antagonist, if I'm being completely honest. And don't get me wrong, I get that. It's a true story, don't get me wrong, I get that. But still, it just suffers from a bit of a lack of an antagonist. Like, don't get me wrong, the policemen are not the good guys in this story. But even them, they don't really come across as this evil force trying to stop the fugitive. They don't. In fact, quite a lot of the films are actually helping the fugitives, the policemen. But anyway, that's not to say this film is bad at all. Because it's not. I had a huge pleasant surprise watching this film. I really did. Don't get me wrong, it's not a flawless film. And it definitely isn't the best Spielberg film I've seen. I prefer a good couple of Spielberg films over this. But this was a very pleasant surprise. I didn't know what to expect at all going into this film. I honestly didn't. I barely ever heard of this film before I looked at Steven Spielberg's filmography. I honestly hadn't really heard of this film, and I just had to go my way to go and buy this film, so much I hadn't actually heard of it. And it's such a fantastic film, though, and it's so well made. For example, in quite all the scenes, you have about 50 or over 100 extras sitting in the background of the scene. Even just these small scenes between Ben Johnson and Goldie Hawn's character, you'll just have like about 50 extras in the background. I don't know how Spielberg did those scenes, but they're absolutely fantastically directed. Because bear in mind, at the same time, as well as he's directing, Goldie Hawn and Ben Johnson, he's going to be directing these 50 extras in the background. I know there's these huge scenes with all these extras going on, and it's just so well made. Everything feels, well made. Everything feels well crafted in the film. The script is really good. It feels really convincing. The performances are great from the lead two actors, Goldie Hawn and Ben Johnson, and even Michael Sachs is really good in the film. I also really like the development of the police officer's character that we see grow throughout the film. For example, Ferg becomes hostage in this car with these fugitives. He's not happy. He doesn't want to be here. He's trying to get out. He's trying to do everything he can to get out. But then towards the end of the film, he actually does, some quite heroic things, and he actually, develops the connections to these fugitives. And it's quite nice to watch his character develop. It was kind of unexpected. I didn't expect the film to go that route, and then when it did, I enjoyed it more. I just felt so intrigued and so involved with these characters. I didn't expect at all. Honestly, the film is absolutely fantastic. You really don't know how the film's going to end. I think that's one of the significant things about the film. I love that. I love films like that, where you don't know how the film's going to end, and you really enjoy the experience of just watching the film, as a whole. I love those films like that, and you don't know how the film's going to end with this film. And that's what I like about it so much, because although there's an antagonist, there's still people, there's loads of people around them who are trying to stop them. There's people trying to help them, there's people trying to stop them around them, because these people are world famous. Throughout the film we find them, they go on newspapers. Huge crowds of people going around them. Press are trying to get conversations with these fugitives throughout the film, and there's not necessarily an strong evil force going at these fugitives, but at the same time, there are people trying to stop them. At the same time, there are people trying to help them. And just watching their story go throughout the film, it's just incredible. To think that this was actually a true story, when you read that paragraph at the end, you kind of, wow! That chapter, I'm not going to spoil it in case you haven't seen the film yet, but you just read the paragraph and it's like, wow, okay, I can't believe that happened after this film. Because it's kind of a remarkable journey and story that we go on. It really, really is. The film is really, really strong in my opinion. I don't know why more people don't talk about this as a fantastic Spielberg film. Don't get me wrong, I know he's done loads which are absolutely amazing, but it's still a very, very strong Spielberg film. Considering this been made before Jaws and Close Encounters and E.T., some of his most famous and strong films. I can't believe that before all those films, Spielberg made this film, because it's so fantastic. Just watching some of the scenes throughout the film, just looking at some of the scenes and thinking, how many extras in that scene, and how much direction did Spielberg put into that scene? It's kind of incredible to watch. It really, really is. Considering this is one of the earliest Spielberg films, I can't stress it enough. This is before he's big, this is before his peak. This is before he had, Jones films and E.T. and so on and so on and so on. This is before all of them. This is before Jaws. And it's still a fantastic film. It was a huge, pleasant surprise. And it was really, really good in my opinion. And I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. And I haven't had this with films in a while. Even in the Bond films I've been reviewing lately, sometimes I'll just zone out on Bond films and just think, what the hell's going on? Was actually in this film, that never happened. I was intrigued for the story for the whole time. I really, really was. I don't know what it is, but it always happens with me in this Spielberg film, apart from, Warhorse, which I'll get onto my Warhorse review. Apart from Warhorse, I'm always, intrigued and interested in these stories that Spielberg brings to the screen, and, The Sugarland Express is no exception. It really isn't. I haven't felt this for a film in a while, but I was just so intrigued in this story. I really, really was. So, all in all, The Sugarland Express is an absolutely fantastic film. Definitely a film to watch if you're a Spielberg fan and you haven't seen this film yet. Honestly, it was a huge pleasant surprise. It really was. The way the film develops, it's absolutely fantastic. And it's got a fantastic heart, led by 3 fantastic performances from Goldie Hawn, Ben Johnson and Michael Sachs. A fantastic and very distinguished score by John Williams. Fantastic direction. And a fantastic end. And I love fantastic ends to a film. I really do. I love when a film delivers an absolutely fantastic final act. And The Sugarland Express was no disappointment. All in all, I'm going to say that Sugarland Express, although it's not the best Spielberg film I've seen, it's still a very, very strong film. I'm going to give it an 8.6 out of 10. Honestly, if you're a Spielberg fan and you haven't seen this film, go and watch it. Even so it's not one of his more well-known films, it was still a very, very good film in my opinion. All in all, it's an 8.6 out of 10 from me. Anyway guys, what do you think of the Sugarland Express? Do you love it, do you hate it? Or have you just not watched it? And if not, why not? Please do comment below and I'll get your thoughts in the comment section below. And just say I'm not going to just be doing Spielberg film reviews, but I'm going to be doing quite a lot of Spielberg film reviews. So look forward to my film review of Jaws, the next Spielberg film that I'll be reviewing, coming very, very soon on this channel. Anyway guys, thank you as always for watching, and if you haven't yet, please do click down below and like and subscribe on this video, and look forward to many more, both film and TV reviews and Spielberg reviews, coming very, very soon on this channel. See you guys again soon, but bye for now, bye!